Life never stops imparting wisdom to us, consistently doling out new lessons. Many of these lessons we discern through our own blunders or the errors of others, while some are delivered by those familiar to us, like Avery. Avery and I shared a home for nearly 2 years. She was a dedicated educator at a reputable school, and I ran a modest enterprise of my own. Just a few days ago, we exchanged proposals and decided to get engaged. My joy knew no bounds at that moment. Fetching Avery from her school had become a cherished ritual of mine, always highlighting my day with sheer delight. I eagerly awaited these moments daily. "How did your day go?" I inquired as I entered her office. "Oh, it was horrendous," she sighed, packing up her belongings. "The kids weren't just mischievous today. They were a downright nightmare," Avery elaborated. As we left the school premises and settled into the car, she resumed her account of the day's chaos and the utter disregard for discipline amongst her students. I was all ears. Her concerns genuinely captivated me. There's a unique intrigue when the tale comes not from a stranger, but from someone you dearly love. And while it might not matter to everyone that her director chastised her, to me, what matters is that she wants to share these moments with me, and I'm all in to listen. You know, keeping tabs on the students, it's like herding cats. And don't even get me started on lunch breaks. I'm practically glued to my desk, always keeping an eye on the kids to prevent another brawl or them dismantling half the school," Avery lamented, clearly exasperated. "Oh, and of course, by now the parents would be swarming the place." She shrugged me off mid-sentence. "Honestly, instead of chewing me out, the principal ought to offer me a promotion," she complained, punctuating her frustration with an eye roll. "I'm doing the work of 3 people, yet the deputy position is nowhere in sight. I'm tired of being just another unheard teacher." "Rest assured, the director will soon recognize your hard work, and you'll reach your objectives," I reassured her. Unbeknownst to us, amidst our engaging discussion, we had made our way back home. Exhausted yet content, Avery offered a weary smile before she drifted further into the confines of the apartment, veering off towards the kitchen. I watched her retreating figure with a smile. These tranquil evenings are what I treasure the most. Sharing a meal in soothing silence followed by leisurely talks. Such moments add a delightful touch to the soul. They bring warmth and a sense of belonging. Indeed, without these simple joys, I simply couldn't imagine concluding another day. "How do you envision our wedding?" I shot the question at her, lying in bed beside Avery. The electronic clock on the wall across the room blinked in bright red, signaling that it was 12:30. A drowsy voice drifted from her direction. Apparently, Avery was already on the verge of sleep. She propped herself up on the bed and switched on the bedside lamp. "Well," she said with a smile, avoiding my gaze, her eyes instead fixated on some spot in the corner of the room. "I see it as a classic affair. A sharp black suit for the groom and a stunning white gown paired with a veil for the bride. There'll be plenty of guests, a grand banquet table laden with luxurious dishes, and the finest entertainment, with a toastmaster to keep things lively," she elaborated. I couldn't help but grin as I clasped her hand in mine. "Looks like that's the plan." "And the honeymoon?" "I'm thinking the sea. Let's escape to the coast," she suggested enthusiastically. I nodded, fully on board with the idea. "Good night," Avery murmured, as she flicked off the light and settled back into the sheets. I followed suit, mulling over her words, and so the days blended into one another. The grind of work, tranquil evenings, and those rare, intimate chats late at night. It was a comfortable routine, not unwelcome at all. And here I was, once more pulling into the school driveway where Avery worked. I entered the building, climbed up to the 2nd floor, and made my way towards her office. I rapped lightly on the door, bracing myself to hear her familiar voice inviting me in. But only silence greeted me in return. I nudged the door open just a bit and caught sight of an unoccupied classroom. Where could she be? An obvious query sprang to mind. After scanning the space, I noticed one of the instructors in the hallway and approached her. "Excuse me, do you happen to know where Avery is?" The woman regarded me with an expression of surprise, her lips curving into a smile. "Check in the staff room. It's just to the left of the timetable board," she advised. "Thanks a lot," I replied, feeling a sense of gratitude. I headed off in search of the correct door and soon spotted a white door adorned with a black sign that read Teacher's Room. I was on the verge of knocking when I picked up on some chatter coming from behind her. Right away, I recognized one voice as Avery's, while the other, I presumed, belonged to her coworker. Their casual conversation was enough to hold me back from stepping inside. He's really something, to be honest. And now with that promotion, she's finally landed the deputy director role. Avery's weary tone was somewhat muted, yet I could still grasp what she was saying. "But if others start to think you're getting all that praise and those promotions without a hitch, are you really going to keep that from your own people?" her friend asked. "Well, Harper, naturally I'll keep quiet. I'm not about to go broadcasting it. I'm involved with the principal," Avery replied with an air of nonchalance. "And what about the others?" her companion pressed on. "Let them think whatever they please. I'm not bothered," Avery declared nonchalantly. "Oh, Katya, I really shouldn't admit how much that stunned me. Initially, I clung to the hope that perhaps I'd misunderstood something in the exchange, but as I replayed their last words over in my mind, conviction grew with each repetition. My breathing slowed, my focus sharpening as I eavesdropped. "How long do you plan on keeping this from him? What if he discovers everything?" Harper probed. "He'll find out nothing," Avery retorted confidently. A sardonic smile crept across my face, the irony of her words echoing bitterly. Taking a shallow, measured breath, I exhaled, a silent, piercing anguish accompanying it. I rapped on the door before pushing it open. The women turned, surprise etching their features, as I stepped into the break room. Avery's reaction was telltale. She was clearly unnerved. "Actually," I began, my voice steady, "I thought I'd come get you a bit earlier today." The meaning behind my words dawned on both Avery and her friend at once, their eyes widening in mute understanding. "Don't bother coming home tonight, but make sure to collect your belongings tomorrow," I stated, my gaze locking with hers, those deceitful yet striking eyes, "one last time." "Farewell," I said curtly, and stepped out. Upon reaching home, I wasted no time starting to pack up Avery's belongings, each item exacerbating the sharp ache inside me. Bag after bag, I filled and lined them up in the hallway. The following morning was rudely ushered in by persistent knocking. Dragging myself from the grips of scant sleep, I braced to confront those beloved voices one final time. Ethan, can we please have a word?" Avery implored, her voice breaking with sobs. I ground my teeth together, so tightly it pained me. I felt an urge to stride over, swing the door wide open, and welcome them inside, yet the sting of betrayal froze me in place. "Ethan, seriously, where do I go from here? Who's going to be there for me now?" "Just try to see, I really needed that job. And I didn't want to understand. I could forgive anything but that." I quietly turned around and entered the room. Soon the knocking on the door stopped, as did the screams. She, lost to me forever, sent her belongings a few days later to the address indicated in another message, which contained apologies and pleas for forgiveness. For a long time, I struggled to come to terms with the fact that every day passed without her presence. It wasn't easy to deal with the pain she was causing, but it could be dealt with. Now I was completely immersed in my work, letting thoughts of my estranged wife disappear from my head. I firmly believe that I will soon be ready to part with her completely.